Well, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to Time for More Injury Funding podcast for all who want to learn about legal funding and its significance in personal injury, trucking law, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, dog bites, and many other types of law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all suffering individuals. More Injury Funding is a sponsor, member, associate board member, or a business partner of this podcast, Georgia Trial and Lawyers Association, Academy of Drug Accident Attorneys, Sandy Springs Bar Association, Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, GOLD for short, Georgia Association for Legals, Atlanta Legal Aid Society, State Bar of Georgia, St. Andrew Rowing Club, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Georgia Council of Chiropractic. In today's episode, I have two special guests, a husband and wife duo, personal injury attorneys and partners in business, life, health, mindfulness, and all other areas of life. Keith and Arnice Hall Foster. This dynamic duo owns and manages a successful law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia, the Foster firm. Today, our conversation is tailored to focusing on Keith and Arnice's unique experiences as husband and wife attorneys, their business practices and current legal issues, while also touching on fitness, health, and entrepreneurialism. Did I say that right?
Entrepreneurialism. That's a mouthful.
For sure. Here we go. And at the end of our episode, I have prepared a fun pop-up question, so stay tuned. Welcome to Time for More Injury Funding podcast, Keith and Arnice.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start our conversation with both of you sharing your individual journeys that led you to become attorneys and eventually to work together as a couple.
Okay.
Well, I'm originally from the Midwest. I was born in Detroit, raised in the Chicago metro area. I moved to Atlanta to come to college. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, which is Martin Luther King's alma mater. And went to work in the corporate America after college for about 8 years and came back to Tennessee for law school at the University of Tennessee, where I met Arnice. We immediately clicked, and we've been together ever since. We got married a month after we graduated, and I went to work at the district attorney's office. Arnice went into work in real estate. She in 2005, my wife opened our practice. I had worked at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, and I had worked at State Farm, Sharon Ware and Associates, as a litigation counsel. So in 2005, my wife opened the practice, and she decided where we would be. And our first iteration of this practice was a real estate closing practice. When she started the real estate closing practice, things were booming, and until about 2008, 2009,
when they crashed.
When they crashed, and I joined the firm in January of 2007. And then about February 2009, my wife was like, I have no more business. I'm going home with the kids. And so I took over the practice, and it became a personal injury practice, criminal defense. In 2010, 2011, I dropped the criminal defense, and we've been exclusively a personal injury practice since then. Working with it has always been our goal to open our own firm. My wife made that happen, and it's been wonderful ever since.
That's a beautiful story right there. And Arnice, what about yourself?
So one thing that Keith didn't say is why he became a lawyer and when he knew he wanted to be a lawyer, which I think is really interesting.
I think it was somewhere around second, third, fourth grade. There were books of the presidents, and all of them were, that I was reading on, and all of them were lawyers. So I said, well, I guess that's what I'm going to be.
That's a good.
I was like, oh, that's good. That's excellent ambition.
Right.
And I'm from Los Angeles. I've always been an advocate, outgoing person. And so I went to law school to become a trial attorney. I started off in accounting, but that was too solitary for me. So I thought I was going to be a CPA, and I was like, no way, Jose. I'm going to do something different. And definitely law and trial was definitely something I knew I would really enjoy. And then we founded the firm in 2005 because I wanted to open a practice here on the South Side that provided Buckhead type services. I wanted a beautiful facility, excellent client services, and I believe that's what we've done.
And the office is gorgeous. All have to come and see the office. It's absolutely out of this world. Plus the Halloween decorations.
Yeah, that's very fun. Maybe we'll get a picture to post
of
the lobby.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. So your clients and staff often refer to you as a dynamic duo. How does your relationship influence your work as attorneys? Are there any challenges that come with being partners in both life and business, Arnice?
Yeah. So yes, it is hard. Because everybody has their own style. And Keith and I are both naturally entrepreneurial, but we each have our own individual style. You're an entrepreneur, so you know it's not for the faint of heart. It's a lifetime commitment. So with regard to working together and our individual style and why it can make it difficult is I can talk about the office from good morning to good night, all day, all night. And I just thought of something, and here's another idea. Why don't we do this? Keith, on the other hand, likes to, okay, we're into the day. He likes to think and not talk about it, and then bring me whatever he's concluded we should do. And I said, well, you can't just make the conclusions, we have to discuss it. So that's just, husband, wife trying to work it out personality wise. But the interesting thing is people often ask, how do you work together? And the way, the thing that makes it easy is since we met in law school, we always saw each other as professional peers. And so for us to work as professionals and see each other in that capacity is not hard.
It comes natural.
It comes naturally, exactly. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Like, I mentioned earlier, I do know a few couples who own the personal injury law firms, but this is my first podcast with having you both. So I'm very honored.
Thank you.
So running business together as a family and law partnership can be very rewarding, but also come with lots of challenges. Let's talk about your law firm staying on brand. What does it mean to you stay on brand as a couple in the legal field? And what methods and techniques do you use to ensure that your firm's brand aligns with your personal values?
Yeah. Branding is my thing. I love the branding. And the number one thing is clients come first. And so we always want to be a client-centered firm. How can we provide services for our clients? What else do our clients need? How can we make sure that they know what's going on in the process? And so if we just keep that as number one, clients come first, and our staff keeps that in mind, then their actions will represent that. So if a client is having trouble with their property damage, even though that might not be something a service that we normally provide, we're going to help them. We're going to talk to the adjuster for them. We're going to help them figure out how to get whatever information they need, how to get their title, what's a salvage title. We have a whole booklet that we send out so that they know what the process is, because it's always clients come first. Not the client is annoying, client comes first.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful attitude to have, because a lot of firms, as you probably know, if they specialize in personal injury or medical malpractice or anything else, they do only that and usually refer cases out. So
right.
That's wonderful that you do everything in the house.
And litigation.
Yeah,
we do handle litigation. So if a case doesn't settle, we will go ahead and take it to trial if we need to.
That's wonderful. Good to know. Good to know. When talking about division of labor, how do you divide responsibilities in your practice? Do you have designated roles, or do you overlap in certain areas, Keith?
Well, my wife will tell you I overlap in all of her areas. So, but
that is true.
But we do have defined roles. My wife is over the pre-litigation, and I handle the litigation. And she does a lot of the marketing and events, and I do a lot of the online stuff. So that's kind of how we divide it up. It's not that complicated, but it's something like, as I said, sometimes I can overstep, but for the most part, that's how we divide it up.
I love it. And I heard that a few times recently that, a smart man always follows a smart woman and listens to her. Because at the end of the day, that always works.
It does.
It does.
Because then she's happy.
It does. Yes.
I would like to switch our discussion from being on brand to some current legal issues. Just so that our viewers and listeners know, we will touch on 3 recent legal issues. And that is first, Justice Department findings, the second, landlord retaliation cases, and third, of chemical explosion. What are your thoughts, Keith, on the recent Justice Department findings regarding prison abuse in Georgia? And how do you believe these findings could impact future legal cases?
Well, it's very interesting because I have handled prison abuse cases before. And the difficulty in Georgia is that I have found, at least, is that there is a lack of empathy for the inmate. And maybe
the law has a lack of empathy, or
a jury pool, potential jury pool would have a lack of empathy for the inmate. And it is extraordinary. And the 11th Circuit, frankly, is not very friendly to these types of cases. It is these types of cases have 1,000 landmines that if you step on one, you're out of court. So, having handled them, and hopefully these findings will make people more aware of what is going on, become more empathetic to the plight of the prisoners, and to perhaps see things from their perspective, that in spite of the fact that, yes, they did something wrong that caused them to go to prison. Yes, we know that. That does not mean that they have lost their humanity, right, and deserve to be treated any kind of way.
And the thing about it is that I want your listeners to consider is, yes, again, you've committed a crime, whatever it might be. Maybe drug crime, but you don't deserve to be tortured, neglected, raped,
denied medical care,
when by security, the what do you call them? The detention officers. How scary is that to anybody thinking, what if you were inadvertently locked up, DUI, let's say, and you're in jail overnight, 3 days, and for some kind of abuse like that to occur in an overnight period, or your teenage daughter, think about it from that perspective. And so the protection provided for all inmates are protections for all of us in the event we find ourselves in that vulnerable position.
These are very touchy, very important issues.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Solved ASAP, and that's why we have you.
Absolutely.
Right. Arnice, let's continue with another current legal issue, and you recently handled the landlord retaliation. With a growing number of landlord retaliation and apartment injury cases, what advice do you have for tenants who may feel powerless against the landlords?
Right. So there is a code provision, a Georgia code provision that protects tenants from landlord retaliation in the event a tenant reports some sort of dangerous condition in their apartment or their rental house, and the landlord doesn't repair it and they are injured due to that. So let's say a recent one that we're working is the refrigerator was leaking. Mm-hmm. And so our client reported it. They did not repair it properly. It continued to leak and she slipped in it. She was pregnant, and so there were a number of complications associated with it. Well, she did report it. So the retaliation could be if the landlord tried to throw her out. In this case, they didn't. Tried to evict her, tried to increase her rent, tried to put unreasonable conditions on the client that were not in the original lease.
Deny her maintenance for her apartment.
Denying maintenance or services. So right, if you're renting a house, what if they turned your power off or your water off? So they cannot do that. They cannot evict you. But the tenant must pay the rent. You can't not pay the rent. You have to pay the rent. If you don't pay the rent, you're in violation of the lease. You do have to abide by the terms of the lease. The landlord can choose not to renew you once your lease is up, but they cannot evict you while you're under good terms on it.
And what is the minimum, based on your experience, what's the minimum lease term? Is that 6 months?
It could be month to month.
Oh, it could be month to month.
You could be in a month to month situation. So if you're in a month-to-month situation, at the end of the month or 30 or 60 days, they can notify you and you can be out. Mm-hmm. But you have to pay. That's the most important thing. Also, a landlord who does retaliate against, is found to be retaliating against a tenant, can be fined $500 extra and along with past rent or rent. So it could be $3,000, $3,500 that they are fined. So they don't want that kind of fine, and generally they will not retaliate. When we represent people who've been injured in their apartments, we notify the landlord. We offer a gentle reminder that they cannot retaliate against our client.
I love the way you worded it, a gentle reminder. So does it happen more often in an apartment home or apartments versus the houses?
It depends on the landlord, the sophistication of the landlord.
Right.
If it is a large apartment holder owning several apartment complexes, that typically won't happen. But if it is
but sometimes the managers will start.
Sometimes the managers will start. But if it is, a house owned by an individual, then
they don't know.
Sometimes they're not aware of the law and they'll do something.
From your perspective as an attorney, Arnice, what are the most common forms of landlord retaliation you encounter?
Yeah.
And what legal protections do tenants have to safeguard their rights in these situations?
Right. So eviction, early termination, same thing, raising the rent. Those are the common ones. Another one would be turning off services of some sort. So turning off your gas or power. That's rare. Mm-hmm. I think they know they cannot do that. But definitely eviction and raising the rent. So what you can do is, of course, if you're our client, you call and let us know. We're going to let them know that they're not permitted to do that. But if you're not our client and you have properly reported their violation, then all you have to do is say you're violating code. And I'll even give you the code provision. It is code. No, maybe I cannot come to it that quickly. At any rate, they're violating Georgia code and they're not allowed to retaliate against you. I'll send it to you later. Yes. Maybe you can put it in the notes. But that's what you just let them know. Let them know you know the law, and you can always call the Atlanta Bar Association, or who is it?
Atlanta
Legal Aid, Atlanta Legal Aid. Okay. And they can tell you what the code provision is. Even if they don't take your case on, they'll probably help you in that way.
Yes, and I work with Atlanta Legal Aid, so they always look for people to help out. So.
Yes, especially with landlord tenants.
Yes, very much so. Let's examine chemical explosion now. Okay. How do you think recent incidents such as chemical explosions are changing the landscape of personal injury law? What legal protections do you believe need to be in place, Keith?
Well, just recently, I think this week, two law firms just filed class action lawsuits against the chemical plant that had a recent explosion here in Metro Atlanta. We actually have a number of clients who came to us after that we were able to sign, and they're going to be class action lawsuits, and we'll get them into the class action lawsuit. So the legal protection typically for these are the class action lawsuit that comes afterwards. But in reading from what I've read, that it was a foreseeable event. That's a legal term, but this plant had fires at it.
For the last 20 years.
Yeah, for the last 20 years, since 2004, I think one in 2016, 17, and 20, they had fires at that plant, and where people had to be evacuated and that type of thing. So the fact that that plant was allowed to stay in business, if the allegations are true, let me qualify that. If the allegations are true, that the fact that the plant was allowed to stay in business without making any changes, that's something that would be something that needs to be changed if that is proven to be true.
And one of the things that was really odd, because it was a fire, and one of the things is that the chemicals, it was a pool chemical facility, swimming pools, spas, and the chemicals are activated by water.
Oh, goodness.
So if you have a fire, you put a fire out with water. If you know that you have chemicals that are activated by water, then you have to find some other way
Absolutely.
to manage the fire. So that's not a surprise to you. So that's definitely foreseeable.
Very interesting.
And it was during the hurricane that came through.
Wow. So very recent, a couple of weeks ago, 3
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yes.
To hear of the results and read about them.
Right. Me too. Me too.
We will now take a closer look into fitness, change our topic totally.
Yeah.
Health and entrepreneurialism. These are 3 areas of personal life that keep on being your driving force in life, business, and all of your relationships. How do you maintain a work-life balance while managing a demanding legal practice? What role do fitness and health play in your daily routine, Arnice?
So I am a licensed, certified fitness instructor. Zumba is my first love, which is so much fun. Have you taken a Zumba class?
Years ago, and by the way, Keith and I will change into Zumba clothes after this, and we'll do the Zumba class before you go teaching.
Right, before I go to teach.
We'll do it.
Fun. Right. So much fun. And so it just became a passion for me. I decided I wasn't going to grow sick, old, obese, that I was going to turn my life to health and fitness and have a good time. The thing about it is that health and fitness is fun.
It's so much fun.
It is so much fun. You just got to get in there.
Yes.
Get to the gym and you will have a good time. And so I started taking classes and I ended up instructing, and it is a fantastic release. Exercise has been found to be as effective for depression and stress as any medication prescribed. So for stress, which all attorneys have stress, all entrepreneurs have stress, that is a great release for me. But also meditating and prayer in the morning to kind of get the day started. Eating healthy will help to maintain your energy, so that you're not sluggish in the afternoon because you've had something healthy in the day to eat. So that all factors into it, especially with regard to entrepreneurialism, because it's so demanding.
And it's so relevant in the personal injury space, especially because, there's no secret, as attorneys graduate from law schools, they start their own practices or join other big law firms. Stress is so high, and so the health and fitness falls on the back burner.
Right.
And then 5-10 years later, you see everybody who was super skinny getting bigger. So if we know that, let's help each other. Let's remind each other, to get back into fitness. And,
absolutely.
I'm guilty of that.
And the other thing is, that even the bar, the state bar has a whole division for substance abuse.
Yes.
Because it's such a stressful business that we're in, oftentimes attorneys who are expected to carry the weight, carry the burdens, be strong, never be sad, weak, scared, worried. They will drink and use drugs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a concern too. But if you exercise,
yes,
then you'll relieve the stress and have a good time.
Absolutely. So what's your preference? Morning, night, midday?
I like to work out at night.
Okay.
I find, I prefer to. What about you, Keith?
When I do it, I do it in the morning.
He does. He likes to get up really early in the morning and go work out. I like to get up and have a cup of coffee, watch TV, chill
relax,
a little bit. Yeah.
Just get into the day slowly.
Yeah.
And so I used to be just like yourself, Arnice, and then it changed to become like Keith.
Good.
So it took me, years and years, but so I would set up my clock 5 minutes early every day, even though I'm still night owl. But then, eventually, probably in 4 or 5 last years, I trained myself to get up before 5.
Oh,
So I just made it
do you work out? Oh,
so I
good
go
for
to
you.
the early class, and my gym is only 30 minutes away. So I try to, be the crazy crowd in the later day.
Do you do spin?
It's been a while, but I do the heavy lifting, life and fitness. They have the alpha strength. So
Okay.
it's a lot of, for my age, to work on the muscles. And then GTX. So it's a kind of mixture of treadmill, like today we did zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and it changes every single day.
Okay.
There's no day where exercise would be the same.
Do you have a favorite instructor?
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, of course. No, I just know
Yeah.
that there's always a favorite.
Yes, he's amazing. So inspirational.
Yeah.
I love it. Arnice, have you found that your fitness and health routines impact your productivity and efficiency in your legal practice? And if so, how? And I know you touched on
Yeah, absolutely. Just so much more energy. You can tell people who work out, they have more energy. They move around differently. And so, the ability to hop up, do something, take action quickly, your mind is sharper. All of that I owe to great physical fitness and good nutrition.
So what happens, what advice would you give to people who are injured? And I'll give you very, very brief story. I was injured and I had workers' compensation situation where I was injured in a car accident, a bad car accident.
Right.
And so that put me behind almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Now lasts about 7-8 months. I'm getting back to it. So gain weight and, just mental aspect of that. So what advice would you give with somebody who's injured, but, hopefully not permanent?
Right. So of course, obviously, first get your doctor's advice. Physical therapy, do the physical therapy. And if your insurance pays for it, which workers' comp it did, obviously do all the sessions that they give you, go to all the doctor's appointments, number one. Secondly, you practice with the physical therapist. Remember what you've done. So when you're at home, you can go back to working your wrist or your ankle or your knee or whatever it is using those exercises. When you get back into the gym or you're working with a personal trainer, tell them about your injuries so that they can offer safe modifications for the exercises that you do. If you have joint injuries, and I am not a doctor, but if you have joint injuries, you want to be mindful of that. But remember that as you develop the muscles around the supporting muscles, right, that your joints are going to be less impacted. So that's my advice.
Wonderful tips. Thank you so much. And we'll talk more offline. This is a topic I personally enjoy so much. So let's chat about the entrepreneurial mindset for a minute. As entrepreneurs in the legal field, what advice would you give to other couples looking to start a business together like yourself? What are some key lessons you've learned along the way? Maybe both of you can answer the question.
Keith Foster? Lessons learned.
Oh my goodness. I seem to think I learn something new every day, but communication. It is imperative that you communicate. It is imperative that you have 2 different roles and you wear 2 different hats. At work, you wear the business partner hat, managing attorney hat, or CEO hat. And then you say, I am communicating with you as in this role. I am not communicating with you in the husband-wife role. And it's a very tricky balance that you have to determine what role you're in at the time and in what way you're communicating in that role. Am I communicating, hey, we did only got out a certain number of demands this month and you need to do more? That's as a managing attorney. That is not making a statement, husband and wife. Hey, you didn't make up your bed this morning.
Or take out the trash.
Or take out the trash. That's something different.
Right.
So you have to figure out what hat you're wearing at the time, communicate wearing that hat, and that's that's the best that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah. How we have managed to grow as a firm, as entrepreneurs, as a business, and as business partners is through coaching, through hiring coaches and consultants who can see things right from a distance, like, hey, you're in the wife mode, get out of the wife mode and get in the attorney mode. You need to, and that's the hard part, communicating in these different ways and recognizing and understanding that. So a coach or a consultant can really help you in that way. That's huge.
How long have you been having coaching sessions?
Oh gosh, since about 2018.
Okay, and do you have them once a month, every quarter?
Some maybe 3 weeks a month.
Yes, we both met with coaches.
Yes.
Okay. We have different coaches and then coaches together. And it just really helps.
I hear that more and more often in the attorneys world. And so the best attorneys, in my opinion, are the ones who actually work with coaches, because it makes such a huge difference in your life. Gives you a total different perspective.
It does.
Because at some point, earlier or later, you'll feel at the end of the tunnel, it's like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do.
Right.
So it's just amazing. What are your future goals for your practice and personal lives, Keith? How do you envision your journey evolving in the next few years?
Well, as we grow, obviously we intend to grow. And as we grow, I will take less of a hands-on day-to-day role and more of a CEO role. That's the best way I can put it. I don't know how else to word it. Whereas I am looking at certain benchmarks, certain guideposts, creating the business plan, making sure we adhere to the business plan, that type of thing. As opposed to I'm in court, I'm trying the case, I'm arguing the motion, I'm writing the demand letter, I'm negotiating with the adjuster. In the next 12 months, it is my goal that I will be doing none of that anymore.
And I hope it happens before then.
Me too. Yeah. Me too.
Well,
yes.
And our goal for the firm is to expand. Obviously, we represent people all over the state of Georgia, but and we have offices here in College Park, also in Douglasville and in Columbus. But to have more offices around the state and even spill into the adjacent states. So some Alabama law and Tennessee. We both graduated from University of Tennessee Law School, and South Carolina. Those are the easy adjacent states.
I love all of those mentioned. What about Florida?
I don't know about Florida. Some states are more popular than others, so getting barred in certain states is just more worrisome.
Florida is so hard.
Yeah, because so many people want to be in Florida. It's like California and New York, Texas.
Well, a little bit less in the last year since the tort reform, right?
Right.
What is one piece of advice you would give to aspiring attorneys or couples looking to combine their personal and professional lives, Arnice?
Coaching. One word, coaching.
I would say planning.
Yeah.
Planning
and coaching.
Planning and coaching. I think you need to plan out, map the roles, map the progression, what What are you going to take care of? What am I going to take care of? And my one, and that would be my biggest piece of advice, plus coaching. Coaching is very helpful to the growth of your firm.
Do you recommend any particular coach to use?
There are many out there. I don't want to
endorse
anybody.
Yeah, but yeah,
but I have heard of other people who have had, I know other attorneys who have other coaches who who will swear by their coaches too. So I don't,
There are quite a few.
There are quite a few.
Coaching online or face-to-face or mixture of both?
Mixture of both.
Mostly online.
Mostly online, but quarterly we meet.
Well, yeah. Thanks to COVID, I guess.
It is.
Right.
Thing that came out of it.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Right.
Are there any common questions or misconceptions you encounter from clients or public that you would like to address in this discussion? Also, can you please tell what types of cases does your law firm handle, and why someone should hire you?
I'll do the first part if that's okay. Misconception is the difference between personal injury and the property damage. So the personal injury side is where a personal injury firm represents you. So if you've been in an accident and you are not injured, and we hope that you're not injured, then you just would have the property damage, the dent on your car, repaired through your insurance or their insurance, or the person, we call them the at-fault party, or the person who caused the accident, their insurance would pay for it. If you are injured in the accident, that is what we take care of. And so we do all the things to assure that all that your medical treatment is covered, that your pain and suffering, future pain and suffering is covered. All of those things are where we work and get paid. If your property damage, if they totaled your car out and you have to buy a new car, you need every cent to go get that car. So you're not paying us out of that money. So that's why you would handle your own property damage. Of course, here at the Foster firm, we're going to help you, kind of walk you through that process to help you get what you need, because you're not going to be happy if you're walking. Well, we're happy that you're walking, yes, that you can walk, but you're not going to be happy if you're walking because you didn't get any property. Right. So you need a car too, exactly. Especially in Atlanta.
Oh, right? Goodness, yes.
Another common misconception is that it's a very fast thing and that money just, the money's just being thrown at you. It takes some time to really set up a good case. So it could take, 3 months on the very quick end, to 2 years if you have to go into litigation, and even longer depending upon the litigation, the size of the case. So be patient, get as much money as possible. Another thing is that people think, I can just handle the case myself. Depending upon the size of the case, you don't want to try to handle it yourself. In any matter, the adjuster's job, the insurance company's job, is to keep money in their pocket, not to pay you. So they're going to lowball on every single case. And we're here to make sure you get the most money. So those are a couple of things.
The one way to think about it is with an adjuster, this person does this all day, every day.
That's right.
Can do it in their sleep. Mm-hmm. You are doing this for the first time or maybe the second time. You've done this once, maybe twice, let's say. That person will be able to run circles around you.
Right. You won't even know.
And you won't even know
They seem so nice.
They seem so nice. There are things that they can do. They're very solicitous, but they do this all day, every day, and you do this once. So there is a disparity in the amount of experience in that situation, and you will come out on the short end.
Why should they come to the Foster firm?
Because we do this all day, every day.
We do.
And there is not a disparity in time and experience on this. I used to work for an insurance company, so I know. I used to work for State Farm, so I know the tricks. And so that I am able to represent our client's best interest, knowing what the adjuster is looking for, what tricks they try to use to get less money. So that's why you should come to us, because we do this all the time as well.
Absolutely.
And we care.
Thank you so much again. It was so great. I hope this episode about fostering justice and insights on legal challenges and couple entrepreneurship was informative and educational. And as promised, here's a fun pop-up question for you. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, Arnice, let's start with you first.
Okay.
If you could time travel to witness any landmark legal case, which one would you choose and what would you want to see?
So any Thurgood Marshall case, of course, he was a brilliant jurist, and just to be able to see him arguing before the Supreme Court would be amazing. But Brown versus Board of Education, which almost seems cliche, but as an immigrant to this country, you probably appreciate that we have this amazing public school system,
Yes.
right? That everyone can come here and have the opportunity to be educated and advance.
Absolutely.
And so Brown versus Board gave all citizens, regardless of race or country of origin, the right to get equal education, equal protection for education under the law. So separate but equal was found not to be just, but you had to have the opportunity to integrate so that the kids could be exposed to all the same kinds of educational opportunities. So that would definitely be the one that I would want to sit in.
And that's why I love the United States so much. It's just one of the most beautiful countries in the world in that respect. And Keith, you ready?
I'm ready.
Your question. Okay. If you could invent a new legal term or phrase, what would it be and what would it mean?
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what I would do away with. I would do away with advice from your friends and families who aren't attorneys. That I would.
That's what would the legal term for that be?
And them.
My friend who works for a law firm.
To be entered into all
my friends and them, my cousin and them, my friend and them.
I talked to a friend.
And they told me.
And they told me.
that my case should have been over with 7 months ago because when they had an accident, such and such and so and so. If I could do away with that, every case is different. Each case stands and rises and falls on its own merit. There might be similarities, but they're not the same. You have different people, different adjusters, different facts,
different doctors,
different facts, different circumstances. And so if there was a legal, I don't know what to call that legal theory, but if I could do away with all the street lawyers, I would do away with all the street lawyers.
Okay.
Right.
That was awesome.
That is.
Keith and Arnice, again, that was such an amazing time spent with talking with you both today. If anyone needs your help or is looking for the Foster law firm, how can they find you?
Go ahead.
So we are the Foster firm. There is a Foster other, but we are the Foster firm, the alliteration, the Foster firm, I liked. And we are at www.thefosterfirmwins.com. Our phone number is 678, the number 2, and the letters INJURY, 6782 injury. Yes?
Yes.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anything I'm forgetting?
No.
Let our family take care of your family.
That's so wonderful. Again, that was dynamic duo of trial attorneys Keith Foster and his wife and business partner Arnice Hall Foster, founders of the Foster firm in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to thank you all for listening and watching our episode today. For more tips and tricks on legal, funding, and personal injury related topics, as well as medicine related topics, follow me, download, like, and subscribe on the It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast on several podcast platforms, including but not limited to Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all others worldwide. And follow More Injury Funding on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Google, business profile, and my website at moreinjuryfunding.com. I can wait to see you and listen to you again very soon. Until then, be well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Had a great time.
I did too.